my darlings, welcome to OpinionATE. I'm Kooks. I hope all you goofy little geese and groovy little gremlins are having the best start to your week. Today we're going to be talking about how to rewire or retrain your brain. In order for me to do that, I need to give you some examples of what my brain used to be like versus what it's like now, and we will be talking about some darker things like suicidal ideation, OCD, other mental illnesses. So before we get into all of that, I just wanted to give a trigger warning, but also remind you that one, there is not a single thing out there that can't be rewired or retrained. Things can always be better and improve, and for a lot of us that sounds really daunting because it feels like there's so much growth and progress left to be made, but in reality, that's an exciting and beautiful thing. That means even when things are starting to feel good or look good, they can still keep getting better. And I promise you, there is not a single thing in your brain, a single mental illness, whatever, that you cannot rewire. So if your brain's telling you this is just how you are, there's no way of changing it, or you don't need to change, that's exactly what we're about to learn how to rewire. Before we get into it, we're going to start with our what would you do today. If you have any dilemmas, predicaments, advice you need, or just a topic you want us to open a conversation about, feel free to send either a voice note or a message over to my Instagram. I'll pop it on the screen and we'll try and add it into one of the next upcoming videos. Speaking of, this is going to be quite a short video because I still don't have the equipment to film nor edit with. However, I'm getting FOMO about my own YouTube account, so we're going to try and get some of these shorter ones up. And if you have any questions or anything like that, again, feel free to either message it, comment it, whatever, and I'm more than happy to try and get further into detail. Alright, let's start with this what would you do? Now this one was sent in by a diva over on Instagram. She does want to remain anonymous though, so instead of playing the voice note, just in case I'm going to read it out, so let's get into it. How do I find motivation to go to school? I get so much anxiety that I just don't want to go anymore, but I'm almost finished and I really want to graduate. It's just hard because I always feel like everyone is judging me and I don't want to be there. Okay, so with this one, it's a mixture of a few different things, but that's why we start to rewire everything in our brain. You've got fear of being perceived, you've got lack of confidence, you've got self-esteem issues, you've got your anxiety. We're hitting all of those thoughts that come through. So with rewiring your brain, it's going to sound so silly because it sounds a lot more simple, but what you need to do is start calling out every single negative thought and replacing it immediately with the opposite thought, even with, or especially when, you're not actually believing it yet, because that's what we have to do. I don't care if you have to call it faking it till you make it, being delulu till it comes true, manifestation station, gentle parenting yourself, I don't care. You literally have to start calling out every single negative thought and replacing it with the opposite until you start believing it. So when it comes to walking into school, you're worried about how other people are perceiving you, which unfortunately in the world we grow up in, people care more about how we're being perceived or how we think we're being perceived rather than how we're perceiving ourselves, how we're actually feeling, what we actually want in this life, etc., which is why trends become such a thing. Anyway, so we need to start hitting all those thoughts. When you're walking into school and you're worried about people watching you or whatever it is, you call out that thought. You say no one cares that much, and if they do, that's a them issue. You tell yourself you're confident. You tell yourself you deserve to be there. You tell yourself you're proud of yourself for going. You tell yourself that you're going to graduate and you're making memories by doing this. Like, you need to literally start convincing yourself that it is worth it, you're doing the right thing, you're confident, you're proud of yourself until you start believing those things, and you deserve to. Like, you're almost graduating. That is an incredible thing within itself. Like, you should be so freaking proud just for that, let alone the getting out of bed, the going to school, the dealing with your brain, etc. And when it comes to certain things, like, you want to start adding in little exposures, so just going to school is a little exposure therapy, right? But you want to start acting by, do now, deal with the consequences of my brain later. At least that's what I did. Like, even if you do happen to have a panic attack in the middle of it, you replace those thoughts, you tell yourself that's exactly why you're doing it, that's exactly why you need to, you're proud of yourself that you did it anyway, next time's going to be a little easier, etc. So you want to really, like, replace every single thought. And for a lot of us, we're not going to realize just how negative our brain is or was until you start seeing that progress. But once you do, the motivation it gives you to keep going is going to be insane. Like, I always say comparison's the thief of joy, unless you're looking back at a past version of yourself to reflect and look at that growth and feel proud of yourself and keep going. And I promise you, you will start seeing it eventually. Like, that's why it's a little hard in the beginning, because you're literally faking something you don't believe and it feels uncomfortable and it feels awkward. But even those thoughts, you replace them and you say, that's exactly why I'm doing it. I'm proud of myself for doing it anyway. If it's uncomfortable, that's because I need to be doing this. Like, I'm so proud of you, Diva. I can't believe you're about to graduate. Like, that is so exciting. I can't wait to hear about all the amazing things coming your way in the future. So if you can, come and let us know how everything's going in the future. But you've got this. I know you've got this. You just got to start hitting every thought and rewiring them. And one of the other angles of this is when it comes to other people that are judging you, if they actually are judging you, you need to start just telling yourself that's their journey. They haven't started rewiring their brain yet. Like, that is not on you. You're doing everything you can. You're confident within yourself. Like, you need to even hit those sort of thoughts. And if you're someone that is on the opposite end of this spectrum, like, a lot of us end up so hardwired to be so negative towards ourselves, but some people seem to be so hardwired to be negative towards other people, or hardwired to be jealous and then hateful. Like, there's so many different angles of these things, but even those things are able to be changed. Say the people that have a lack of empathy or a lack of compassion. You could start rewiring your brain with simply just watching television or something like that, and forcing yourself to be putting yourself in that person's shoes, and then start taking that into your real life. But if you're having negative thoughts about other people, tell yourself that's wrong. Tell yourself you and them both deserve better. Tell yourself that that's weird to think, let alone act on. If you're, for example, there's a troll that I had in my lives. I do live streams over on TikTok, tell people not to gift or worry about tapping the screen. It's just a space for people to come and talk or check in if they want to, right? I had someone come in trying to troll months and months ago, and they came back months later to apologize and explain that they've grown and like they can see it's wrong. And I didn't even really prompt them to do that much, but I also didn't remember them. However, they had, and that really showed me that like them trying to project misery on other people is affecting them more than it's affecting me, right? So if you have to, start rewiring those thoughts as well. Start telling yourself other people deserve better, you deserve better. You don't actually believe that. Like, fake it till you make it, because not only you, but the people around you deserve you to be making those changes. And it gets to a certain point where you become an adult, and although you might not be able to control why you develop these certain behaviors or thoughts or whatever it is, it's your responsibility to change them and change what's happening in your future. And like I said, literally, there is not a single thing that can't be rewired to at least be a little bit better. So let's get into some more specific things and ways I managed to rewire my brain and why I had to. Okay, so for me personally, it felt like as a teenager, I was collecting mental illness like they were freaking Pokemon, and then as an adult, chronic illnesses. Like, I had no idea just how bad my brain was until I did start seeing those changes and that growth, but that's because it was so hardwired to be so negative towards myself from such a young age. Like, just to give you a quick explanation of what my brain has always been like, I have been in a constant state of fight or flight since I was a really little kid. So I always had really high anxiety. I used to get called a worrywart. Like, everything just scared me. I had a fear of parents. Like, it's a whole thing. We can get into that all in another video. But alongside that, I also had suicidal ideation from such a young age. Just really quickly wanted to explain too, suicidal ideation, for anyone that doesn't know, is constantly thinking about ways to leave this world. There's the slightest inconvenience and your first thought is how much easier it would be without you here. And not just for you, for everyone else as well. This is why when people say suicide is selfish, it really drives me bonkers. I remember the first time I heard that, I was maybe 10 years old, and it has stuck with me. I remember who said it and why they said it, and I remember being so stuck on the thought that like they think it's selfish, but it feels like the least selfish thing to do when you've got suicidal ideation. It feels like it's selfish for you to be here, and it's an inconvenience for everyone, and it'll be easier for you and everyone around you if you're just gone. So you're constantly thinking of ways to leave this world, and it's just a whole thing. But that's a quick explanation of it. I'm so sorry. Back to the video. And I didn't know those things weren't normal, because when you've had the same brain for such a long time or your whole life, you're not going to until you start seeing those little changes being made. But I developed my suicidal ideation and things like that well before I was a teenager, and that came along with self-harming as well. And self-harming becomes such an addiction, especially if you've got things like BPD, etc., or even OCD can go into it. It becomes a ritual, but that addiction almost becomes like your instant reaction, especially when you got things like BPD. Like, as soon as you start splitting, it was almost like that was my go-to, and everything just got so overwhelming constantly. It was either being so depressive and suicidal and just kind of numb and to myself, or it was being so explosive and overwhelming and suicidal, right? And I managed to rewire those things. I couldn't tell you the last time I self-harmed. I don't split really anymore. If I do, it's not anywhere near as volatile as it used to be. My OCD, I still struggle a lot with, but there's so many different OCD rules, rituals, behaviors that I've managed to literally break. I barely think of them anymore, let alone have them controlling my life. My anxiety, I have done so much exposure therapy. Don't get me wrong, still deal with a lot of anxiety, but even with the do now, deal with the consequences of my brain later method, I haven't had to deal with the consequences of my brain later with a lot of different things that at the start, panic attacks in public or at home or leading to self-harming. Like, it was just, I cannot explain to you enough and express to you enough how much you're able to change your brain, how much you deserve to change your brain. If your brain is telling you that you can't do it, or it's not possible, or you don't deserve it, or it's just how you are, that's exactly what we need to retrain. So the ways I managed to do all of that stuff, even when you're actively participating in something harmful to yourself, or a ritual or a rule or a behavior, as you're doing it, you need to start telling yourself you deserve better, or you're in control, you trust yourself, you don't need this, like, you're fine, everything works out. You replace all those negative thoughts. Mock them if you have to. Get as spunky and goofy with it as you want to get. I'm not kidding. You can do it. And you need to start calling out those negative ass thoughts. At the beginning, it felt like I was literally just talking to myself constantly, because every thought I had was negative pertaining towards myself, right? And like I said, didn't even know it was doing that, didn't know it wasn't normal, etc., until after I started seeing little changes and progress being made. Not only that, I went from not physically being able to see a future for myself, not wanting a future for myself, not thinking that was possible, to now having so many goals and like getting FOMO of my own future, because I'm not a millionaire, so I can't just get all the stuff I want to do done now. But I have so many goals for myself, and the future is so exciting to me now, and I never thought I'd get there. I knew I wanted to want things for my future. Like, for example, I grew up a dancer. I started when I was 2.5 years old. I loved dancing, and I knew I wanted to do that for the rest of my life, but I couldn't see a future for myself within it. I just knew to say I want to be a dancer. But I didn't want anything. I didn't want to be here, and I didn't think I could be here. It's so weird to try and break down very, very quickly, but like, everything is possible. You deserve a future. It's out there for you. I cannot express that enough, and you can do these small little things. It's free. You've got this. Anyway, and that goes with things like trauma, PTSD, CPTSD. You need to start telling yourself you're safe, you trust yourself, you're okay. Those things don't control you. They're not always going to control you. You need to start telling yourself with all these things that every day is getting easier until it all starts becoming easier. Lack of confidence, you need to start telling yourself you're confident. Even if you don't have, say you're getting a negative thought about a certain part of your body or something like that, you replace that, you tell yourself that is so silly, I am grateful for my body. And even if you can't pick out a physical thing about yourself at the beginning that you like, you start telling yourself, I'm so grateful that I have the ability to walk. I'm so grateful that my body allows me to do this, to do this. And then hopefully eventually you can start saying, I'm so grateful I was blessed with these eyelashes. Like, literally whatever you have to do to reframe those thoughts, you do it. And like I said, get spunky with it. Laugh at them, mock them, call them out loud before you replace the thought. The important part is you're always replacing the damn thought, right? And telling yourself that that negative thought, not it, not you. You deserve better. I'm already almost out of time for filming this, so I'm gonna have to cut it short very soon. But like I said, I have made so much progress in the last year and a half just by doing this. And so many people get stuck on the fact that like they don't have access to therapy or can't afford therapy or whatever it is. I made so much more progress being detached from anything like that. I did end up very much in the world of psych wards, and my whole life revolving around being mentally ill or chronically ill. And it wasn't until I was able to step aside from all that stuff and put the work in on my own that I made all that progress. So don't ever think that you need therapy or to do the traditional way for healing a lot of these things, because reality is there is no rule book to your recovery, no matter what it is. Two people can struggle with the exact same thing. You will have developed it for different reasons, or you will be using it in a different way, managing it differently. It controls you in different ways. You have different rituals behind it. Like, there's so many things that go into it. I always say there's no timeline, there's no rule book. It's your journey. It's just about finding what makes every day a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable. And you all deserve a brain that is so much more tolerable, let alone enjoyable to live in. And it's out there. It's possible. Anyway, I've really got to run. I'm getting counted down right now. Sorry, I got like 2 minutes spare time. So even when you don't think you deserve a future, you tell yourself you deserve your future. You tell yourself you want a future. You tell yourself things are getting easier every day, that you're proud of yourself for the work you're putting in. I promise you, you need to tell yourself it's possible. Like, just keep reframing everything. Rewire it all. You deserve a better brain, and it's out there. It's possible. Tell yourself it's possible. Anyway, I love you. I hope I have the equipment to do this properly soon. But for now, I've got to skedaddle skadoodle with my funky little noodle. Look after yourselves, start rewiring, forehead kisses all around. Love you lots, and we will yap again soon. Bye, thanks for yapping.